back and listen. And then I'll hear things that I didn't hear when I was doing it, which is pretty amazing. Just things about me, the way I perceive life, part of my story of healing, and that sort of thing. But one thing that I heard was me talking about someone not seeing my worth, and for a long time holding on to this hope that they would see me, that they would see my value, that they would choose me. And when I recorded last night, it came from a place of, it sounded like I was kind of in a place of like desperation or whatever, but that's not where it was actually coming from. So to talk that out for a second, forever in my life, through my marriage, I didn't have healthy boundaries. I didn't even know what a boundary was. And a boundary is the separation of this is mine and that is yours. I am responsible for my stuff with a clear division of what you're responsible for. So in my marriage, codependency was so heavy and I was so enmeshed, and my worth and value was set on this barometer of how my husband felt for the day. So I remember sitting at my kitchen table and him coming in the back door, and he was angry at life, or whatever in his life, and my whole mood shifted. Everything about me, and I felt good before he walked in the door, and me looking at him and the energy and the dominance that he had in the room, and the place of lack of me knowing who I was and who I was created to be and my worth and value, I was shaken by him. And that was a common factor throughout our relationship, was he set the tone. So if he was making money, he was in a great mood. He was high on life. Everything was great, grand and dandy and peppy and woo. And then the polar opposite, because that's where we lived in the marriage, was the extreme of his mood being happy, and the polar opposite, the other side of the pendulum, would be depression on the couch, on his computer, on his phone that I was not allowed to touch, no conversation, depressive energy, doom and gloom, completely just dark and draining and overwhelming to me, because I use him as my barometer to set the tone of where I was. And wow. Then even through the divorce, at the beginning, little my story, for 6 years, I was in agony, a constant state of agony, praying for this man to come home, because I felt that conviction in my heart. So for 6 years, agony. And then I met said Trent, walked into my world, and like in the video before, he was so familiar. The first time I looked at him, I was like, home. That's how I felt. And I had this attachment to him that I couldn't explain, and I couldn't figure it out, but I was drawn to him. And obviously to feel that towards any human is unhealthy, but it was a breath of fresh air because of the agony that I was under for 6 years. So he was something that wasn't pain. something that was familiar, because like I had said, they are the same person. I didn't see it in the moment because I had actually journaled earlier that day at work, about an hour before, asking for God to send me somebody, a friend, just somebody. And then he walks in the door and I'm like, bam, that's somebody. So in that place, walking that out and that friendship out and the highs and lows, and I do see where he was part of my story because he was a quote-unquote safe person to feel my feelings, even though they were so extreme, and I didn't know why. So he would ebb and flow out of my life in conversations and such, but he was just that. So where I didn't have access to ex-husband, but I had somewhat access to him, sort of, enough between that and my own thoughts and my own whatever I had going on in my head. So that was that. But it was relief. It was relief from the constant agony that I was feeling. So that, like I said, ebbed and flowed and disappeared a couple times and such. And so for this time, I knew that it was time for a closure in my divorce. So almost a year-long process to finally get some legal action done. 12 years post-divorce. I knew that was closure. I knew the people that came to court that day, it was closure for me. I know that me being able to sit there in front of people that wish me ill will, and it didn't affect me, and I didn't even see them. They were completely blurred out from my vision because I was in my place in my life. Healthy communication, prayer, faith, all the good stuff, the good energy, all of that is where I am in my story. So closure with that. And I know some people don't get closure, but apparently this is part of my story. So then right after that time frame to run into Trent again, because I have wondered through the years about him and where he's at and if he's alive, or me to see on social media one day or whatever, or something that he's not alive. I don't know, because I'm thinking, why would somebody just disappear again? Then it's like, oh, that's pattern. And then it's like, okay, so that has nothing and has never, either one of these men and their behavior has never had anything to do with me. It has always been about their own demons and darkness that they're running from. Nothing to do with me. So to be at a place now where I know my worth, I know my value, I know who I am and who I belong to. I know that. I know that God provides all things for me and my family. And I know that He loves me beyond words. And so to process through where in the past I looked for a human as my barometer of my mental health, I know the truth now of who I am. And I don't do that now. And all of it goes to Jesus. All of it is, He's my barometer. He's the one that I seek. And He's the one that it's the energy is directed towards Him. So to process through this season of life and know that, you know, and I am human, obviously, and I do ebb and flow, and I do think, and I do wonder, but then I come back to truth of, well, one, nobody, I will not give anyone access to me that does not prove themselves worthy on their end. I will match energy that they put forth That's where I will be. I will not create. I will not embellish. I will not view from a prayer of hope, of expectation, because God does amazing miracle every day, and I'm not putting him in a box at all. And I do know whomever, whatever, it's going to be in the perfect timing. So for me to process through and get closure, and closure is active and it is ebb and flow, and for me it's not an end per se, but it is an end. It's good. It's really good. And what that helps me to know is that there is so much more to come. And as I enter into this, I don't have baggage. Like I've seen this little drawing of someone walking with kind of like had a bag on their shoulder, and they're carrying all these rocks and these boulders with them every step of the way. And then it's not what I'm doing now. I'm not carrying that baggage with me. That baggage. So I do pray for Trent whenever he comes to my mind, and I bless him and his life and his family. Absolutely. Always have done that. And then it ebb and flows right back out. And with baby daddy, when he comes to mind, I bless him. And I believe God's got all that. He has his heart. He has his story. And God doesn't need me in any of that. And so whatever that looks like in my life, I'm okay with. And that's good. So what that does is that leaves space for the goodness of life, for the people of life, ebb and flow of life, all of that. It frees up just that, because that, I mean, it's been heavy for a long time. It's just been heavy. Didn't want to carry it, but didn't want to ignore it either. But no more excuses for inconsistent behavior, and no more excuses for thinking that they're doing the best they can, because they are, but to use that as an excuse in my mind to rationalize poor behavior, inability to communicate, inconsistency. We're not going to do that no more. And that has shifted in my mind and in my heart and in my life. And I know that it shifted. So it's a good place. So going back to closure for me, and I knew it was going to be an ebb and flow and such, but it's been good. It is good. So I'm okay with that. And if there's others, I'm sure there's stuff, we're human, there's stuff. And I know that that'll ebb and flow as it needs to in my life, in different seasons of life and such. But it does let me know that, one, I am complete and whole, because I know who completes me. Two, it's exciting to see what life will continue to look like. I get to give myself permission, because some days I have more and other days I have less to give, and that's okay too. So still learning to be my own best friend and my own advocate, and what that looks like, to be able to make decisions for my family, financial, and even my home, things I want to do in my home, things like that. I don't have to discuss it with anybody because it's my choice, and that's not bad. That's actually pretty good. My parenting style, all of that, I do that with no clue of what I'm doing, but I do it well. So all that's good. And I'm so, so thankful. So thankful for the goodness in my life. I'm so thankful as God has continued to show up and bless. And I'm so thankful as money ebb and flows out of my life. Opportunities. So thankful for that. I know that there is no limit to the goodness that God has for me and that I want in my life. And I trust that. So that's interesting. And it is exciting. And it's also completely, I have no idea. Like, to imagine, okay, there are more people that I have not met. And that's good, actually. This is good. There's more people that are going to come in and out of my story. And some people will come and stay. And others will cycle in and out. And that's fun. So going to work today, I'll be sitting on the mobile in Huntsville, Georgia. It's going to be a good day. Got some, taking care of some clients. Got some stuff in my thoughts and my calendar and stuff to kind of get straight. Oh, that's a good day. So, thank you for listening.